Hi, good evening. Welcome to tonight's game-changing webinar series on SBL, day number 4. This is Hasan Dossani, and I hope you guys are doing well. We were doing a full-fledged SBL question, right? And I think only one last requirement is pending. So if you guys can log into your CBE platforms, we can straight away start from it. So are you guys logged into your CBE platforms? Very good. Are you guys ready with your PC and your CBE? Very nice, very nice. Okay, so everything looks good to me. Let's start. That's a brief introduction for myself. For students who are joining us today for the first time, that's my personal WhatsApp number. And if you are yet not part of my global WhatsApp group, please message on this number and you will be added to my global WhatsApp group. The third thing is how to ask questions. You will just type your question in the chat box but do make sure that your question relates to the topic under discussion. That's the suggested study plan for those students who haven't seen it as yet. This is a study plan for next 5 weeks. Okay, so you can have a look at it later. And finally, right after the mock, I will be starting my mock based practice session classes from the 6th of November. We will be solving 4 SBL questions like we did this question, maybe another 4 questions on top of that. Excuse me. And then after that, we will do 3 mock exams under strict exam conditions. I will check 1 mock script and all the classes are live and recording will be available for time zone differences. If you are interested in joining this mock based practice classes, please message my coordinator on this number. And this mock based practice is highly recommended, especially for resit students, especially for students who are scoring in 40s. Okay, so it is a very subsidized price considering the number of hours and the efforts required. So please register before Saturday so that the first class is on Saturday, which is 6th November at 8 p.m. Pakistan time, right? Okay, guys. So we were doing SBL specimen paper 3. It is called NABI. And so far we have covered so many topics. We did assess options, diversifying risk. Do you remember financing structures? I think yesterday we talked about project variables, project quality, project timelines, project cost. Then we spoke about governance structures like splitting the role of chairman and chief executives, having non-executive directors, board committees, all external reportings. And then very important topic. Yesterday, we also discussed in detail about culture. How can we analyze culture? And then we applied this on on the scenario. Remember, right? Very good. So today only one last question is left, in which we will understand how we look at weakness of MIS and recommendations. Okay. So let me open question number 4 on directly on my platform. It's 20 marks. Whoa. The popular television program Talking Stock has just broadcast an episode which includes an interview with a venture capitalist. You have advised the board of NABI to watch the episode with a view to understanding the need for improvements in the information currently presented in the management accounts and the additional information which will need to be provided in future. You are then going to deliver a presentation to the board regarding their current management accounting information. Okay, nothing unusual in the background question. Prepare a presentation slide. Very interesting. That's the new format which we will study today. So far, we have done reports and briefing notes only, right? Prepare a presentation slide with an appropriate number of slides. Oh, sorry. Prepare a presentation with an appropriate number of slides and accompanying notes to support your findings covering the following items. A. Identification of the weaknesses of the current management accounting information in supporting decision making for the restaurant business. 6 marks. And recommendations for improvements to management accounting data. So in part A, we are supposed to identify the weaknesses, but do not talk about recommendation. And in part B, we have to recommend improvements to the management accounting data, which identifies key performance indicators, which should be included in the monthly management accounts to support decision making for hotel business. Interesting. 10 marks. And professional skills marks are available for demonstrating communication in clarifying relevant information to the board of NABI. 4 marks, 20 marks. Interesting. So part A, essentially, we have to identify the weaknesses of the current management information report. And in part B, we have to recommend, improvements. Plus, we have to suggest some KPIs relating to hotel business. Now, look, couple of things here. First of all, regarding professional skills marks, it is 4 marks. Can anybody tell me professional skills marks are for part A or for part B, or maybe equally to be split between the two because it is not clear? I think both. I agree. From the way it is presented and the way it is explained, I think it is an overall thing. So how much for part A and how much for part B? I think 2 and 2. Yeah, that's safe and simple. So then what is the actual marks, like total marks for part A? 6 plus 2 marks, 8 marks. Absolutely correct. And part B will be 12 marks. 8 and 12. 8 and 12. For 8 marks, how many points? For 8 marks, 4 points. And for 10 marks, 12 marks, 6 points. Very good. Very good. You guys are now getting expert at it. Very nice. The other tricky thing is it is saying prepare a presentation with an appropriate number of slides. So an examiner has left up to you guys to, just a minute, to decide the number of slides. Correct? Okay, okay. So how many slides? Yeah, 2 slides. So let's decide on the mark. Generally, what I like is, I like 3 to 4 points maximum on one slide. That's my personal benchmark. 3 to 4 bullets on one slide. So for part A, it is 8 marks, right? So 4 bullets or 4 points. So yeah, one slide for part A. But what about this one? It is 12 marks. Can we do on one slide? No. So for this one, we will have to do 2 slides, 6 marks each. 3 points on each slide. Okay. So got it. So one slide for part A, and I would like to give 2 slides for part B because it is 12 marks. So on an average, 5 to 6 marks per slide. Okay. All right. Got it. You guys clear, right? This is part of planning so that things becomes easy for us. Okay. So let me show you the slide. So far in this question, we have used the word processor. Remember, all these answers in our word processor. Oh, what happened? It's crazy. Let me fix my screen because this window was too big. Okay, Control 0. Now I can minimize it, and so you need to be very, very hands-on because sometimes your screen will just suddenly get out of control by if you press anything wrong. Tina is asking, is there a maximum number of slides? Yes, Tina. That is why I actually asked how many slides. And let me just show you. Give me 1 minute. So we have done Word. We have not used spreadsheet, and let's open slides. Can you see slides? Let me small it a bit. Okay. So this is given to you, huh? This will be given to you. Slide number 1. There's a box slide, and then if you scroll down, you will see something called speaker notes for slide number 1. And then you go to slide number 2, and then there will be speaker notes for slide number 2. So now in this case, you see a problem is only 2 slide templates have been provided. So unfortunately, we will have to restrict our answer on 2 slides, but generally the examiner, they provide 2 or 3 templates. No problem, we will look into it. So the requirement was identify the weakness of the current management accounting information. So this is exhibit 6. Let me open exhibit 6 for you guys, huh? That's too small, I guess. It's not fitting on one screen. Is that okay? Okay, we'll try to do something. Yeah. All right. So the management accounts, it starts from statement of, there's a P&L, and then there is a statement of financial position, which is the normal P&L, normal thing. And then there is something called management accounts, you see. So the question is more about management accounts. Yes, I reduced to 75%, Maria, but then I believe the students will not be able to see it on my screen because it gets very small. Hmm. This is the management accounts, and it says budget. This column is for budget, and it shows you sales turnover, food cost, labor cost, other costs, gross profit, admin expense, operating profit. And then this column is for actual, and this column is for variance. The usual, this is the typical thing. There will be a budget, actuals, variances. Again, there's a column for budget, actual, and variances. So why there are two sets of things? Can anybody differentiate between what is this one? What what is this one versus what is this one? What's the difference between the two? They look same to me. Current and previous year, are you sure? No. Please read, Baba. It's here, mentioned here. Yes, Lukman. Yes, Alvin. Yes, Olu. Very good, guys. It's mentioned here. This one, these numbers like budget, actual, these 3-4 columns are management accounts for the period 12, which is March 2020. It looks like it is 1 month. Period 12 for them is March. And this one is cumulative for the year. You understand? So this one is for one period, which is a month, March, and this one is the budget for full year cumulative. Is that clear, guys? Yeah. So let's focus on this. So it's pretty standard: budget, actual, variances, some sales, food cost, the P&L is given, budget. So their budgeted operating profit was 1280 million, and their actual profit is 1194 million. So there is an unfavorable variance of $85,000 in the bottom line. Similarly, if you look at the top line, 10 million was the target. They did 9.6 million, and there's a variance of 389,000 in the revenues. And similarly, there will be variances here. So that's how it works. Then they have given us food cost per head, kitchen labor hours per head, non-financials are there. Very good. And there are some notes to management accounts. Okay. So now you understand the exhibit. Wait, Asam, wait. Wait, Asam. Huh? So this is what you have as an in shape of the exhibit. Now let me go to something interesting. You know, as a CFO, I spend a lot of my time in budget versus actuals, or it is called management accounts. So the management is not really interested in the IFRS financial statements. Those are, for annual purposes, for publishing to the shareholders, blah, blah, blah. But on a monthly basis, there are simplified management accounts so that the entire board reviews how the business has performed. So we do management accounts each month, which includes month number, like how the last month was, and we then show cumulative to date so that we have a visibility of how we are doing against the target for the year. So a lot of my time goes in management accounts. There are three things, at least three things, which I expect to see in a management account. Okay, number one, is the budgeted accounts based on flexed budget? Are you guys familiar with the concept of flex budget? What is a flexed budget? Very good, Uzair. Yes, a flex budget, the budget is based on certain number of units sold or number of, products or units or volumes, right? And it is not necessary that the actual number of units sold or the actual volume is exactly as per the budget. So there is always a difference in the volume, budgeted volume versus actual volumes in reality, right? So then if there's a difference in the number of cars sold, then when you are comparing the actuals with the original budget, it is not a apple to apple comparison. For example, the budget is made based on 100 cars to be sold. In reality, we sold 75 cars. So how can you compare a 75 cars sold P&L with a 100 cars sold P&L? It's not apple to apple. So then we recalculate or the budget at the rate of 75 cars, and then we compare the actuals with the revised budget so that it is apple to apple comparison. Got it? So whenever, okay, the original budget was always there, but for purposes of comparing with actuals, you need to make sure that the volumes are same. Okay. Akis, these are just terminologies, forecast, this and that. Yeah, forecast. Again, there could be a difference between forecast. If there's a difference in the volume or the quantity, then you have to do a flex budget. I cannot explain again. I'm sorry, Subhana. You can watch the video. There are like 150 students, right? So first thing is, the original budget can never be compared to the actuals on the face of it, because if there's a difference in the sales or in the volumes, then you need to do a revised budget, which is flexed budget. Got it? Secondly, what I always look at is I compare the current year actuals with two things. One is budget and one is prior year actuals. Got it? So current month or current year performance is compared with current year's targets or budgets, as well as it is also compared with last year actuals. These are the two things the board really wants to see. The board wants to see, A, how are we performing as compared to last year? Are we improving as compared to last year? And secondly, how are we performing against our targets for the current year? Got it? And third thing is most important. So what a budget does is, when you compare a budget with actuals and you subtract the two, you will arrive at variances. But the more important thing is, we have to explain the reasons for those variances. The board is more interested in why we did not achieve our sales target, why our costs are over the budgets, why our budgeted profit and actual profit is not on track. Dixon, you're right, but these are the top three things. There are so many more things, non-financials, market indicators, whatever, but these are the top three things you can focus on. All right. So please always remember, whenever you get a question on budget versus actual, I repeat, whenever you get a question on budget versus actual, always look for these three things on that MIS or management information report. So let's see whether the exhibit which we were provided, in which they are comparing budget with actuals, is it based on budgets or flex budgets? Please have a look and let me know whether it's budget versus actuals, or are they comparing without using flexing the budget? Budget is flexed or not flexed? Is it flexed or not flexed? It's very simple. Have a look and let me know. 30 more seconds. Does it need to be flexed? Why? Okay, it's not flexed, but does it need to be flexed? How do you know? What's your logic? What logic you will give that it has to be flexed? Why should it be flexed? Units are not same. Tajwar, very intelligent. Good answer. So look at the sales turnover. It's a 10 million target. The actual sales are different, which means that the number of units or the volumes are different, right? So now this 3 million food cost is based on a sales of 10 million. This 3 million food cost is based on the sales of 10 million, right? So on actual, my food cost is 2.5 million, but it was on a sales of. So if I'm comparing this with this, it's not apple to apple, because this 3 million is on a volume based on this thing, whereas this is on a lower volume. That is why it's possibly showing a favorable variance, because it is not comparing apple to apple. Do you understand? Forget about the reasons. Is it volume? I mean, you have to understand the basic concept. Budget versus actual. If the volumes are different, then you have to recalculate the budget based on actual volume, so that you compare actual apple with apple. Okay, Taruf? So first weakness is that the budgets or the MIS is not, based on flex budget. Okay. What is the second thing you would like to look at? That the actual should be compared with flex budgets as well as prior year actual. So what are they comparing with? They're comparing the actuals with the budget, yes. But I would also like to see whether they are comparing with actuals of last year. Are they comparing? No. So that's another weakness. You remember the requirement. We have to identify some weaknesses of the management account. So for me, as a CFO, these accounts are useless, because as a management, I want to see apple to apple comparison. I want to see last year, how we are performing against last year. Where units mentioned, units are not mentioned because it's a restaurant, but you look at the sales turnover. If the turnover value is different, then there must be some difference in volumes. It could be price variance, it could be volume variance. So it's not clear from this. So that is why some work has to be done, right? All right. And the third is reasons for variance should be explained. Do you see reasons for variance anywhere? So I can see the column variance, this one and this one. But where are the reasons? Let me go on the right side. Oops, there is nothing on the right side. It's all blank. So where are the stupid reasons explaining why our revenues are short? Why? What is this happening? Are there any reasons? No. Okay. Very interesting. Now, so three already we have identified three weaknesses, and I would give you like 1 more minute if you can think of just one more weakness. Very good, Lee. Where did you get this from? No breakdown of what was there? Depreciation in admin expense. What's wrong in that, Umar? What is not specific, Uzair? Not seeing any tax amount. Now you're talking like an accountant. These are management accounts. Management accounts do not focus on statutory requirements, right? That's the difference between comparison with industry. Okay, interesting. No external factors. Normally in a monthly management accounts, we don't put external factors. Now, how can you measure external factors? Aisha, very good. Restaurant, about how many restaurants they have? 8. Would you like to know which restaurant is performing and which one is not performing if you are the director of this company? You think Pizza Hut or McDonald's, they monitor the performance of each branch, or they just look at total consolidated numbers? Yeah. Yes, Lee, I will go to that. This is something interesting that, I want to see the performance of each branch or each location. Maybe few locations are consistently making losses. Maybe I would decide to close them down. All right, so now you understand. Now I want to take your attention to the exhibit number 7, in which it says what the uh, venture capitalist expects. What about this para? Can you read this para? Or maybe not this para. Where is it? Oh my God, I can't see. Use. So I read somewhere yesterday that each business as a profit center, they want to. Okay, let's read this. So what do you mean by they want to see each? We would like to know each part of the business is performing and to consider each part of the business as profit center. Can anybody explain to me? Yes, you're right, Lee. Do you understand the meaning of this? that as a venture capitalist, they want to understand each part of the business, meaning each restaurant, each branch, each location. They want to drill down. They want to see everyone who make profit. They are all considered as a profit center, which means that they have to earn profit. If they're not making profits, then we will think of shutting them down. Very good. So if we can recommend that, management accounts needs to be, in more detail, so that each branch, each restaurant's performance is there. Product performance. Excuse me. I mean, you're right, product performance, but in a restaurant, the restaurant is the product, right? Do you want to see how much biryani was sold or how much Pepsi was sold? No. So in this nature of business, the product would be at the restaurant level. But if you're selling cars, it could be product wise, like XLI and GLI and all those models wise. Okay. All right. So now I will give you a few minutes to start drafting. So I will open let me small this down. This window is too big for me. And let's open the slides, all of you. I would want to read the question again. Let me put this one on this side. I want to read the question again. It says, identification of the weakness of the current management accounting information. What should be the heading of the first slide? Tell me. Heading of the first slide. Was it weakness of current management accounting information? Current forget the word current. Got the heading? Let me see whether, please type the heading. You guys are doing, right? You guys are doing on your platform. I will give you time. Start. So I will do mine. Okay, let me draft one weakness. Okay, we need how much? 4, right? Let me draft one weakness, and then the rest 3 I will give you time, so that you get an idea. So the heading of the slide is very, very important. So I will again use this heading 1. It's too big. Heading 3 and center underline. Maybe heading 2. Yeah. Now, first bullet. First weakness is, I want to talk about the point that the budgets are not flexed. So what could be the bullet point for that, heading for that point? Because in this box, I just need to write a small bullet. Explanation will be later on. So if I want to give a subheading, budgets not flexed. Very good. No, Ananya, you are saying flex budget. Use a negative tone because the slide says weaknesses. So I will say, okay, what about the second point, which is actuals, prior year actuals are not compared? What can be the Okay, is that okay? Actuals not compared with last year. Okay, that's fine. What was the third thing? And one more, whatever you can think of, I would write, I would like to write geographical background. What is that, Bezat? What do you mean by geographical? They're all in one city, remember? Why can't you use the specific word relating to the case study or scenario? Restaurant wise performance. Alas. Geographical background, product breakdown, no explanation of variances. Yes, I mentioned it. So now these are the four things. I would just make them a little bigger. Wow. Do you like it? Dixon, don't say branch performance not split. You are not using the words of the scenario. Did you see any branch word in any of the exhibit? This is where you guys will lose marks. Especially there's a communication skill marks here. Branch performance, you're talking very general. Why can't you say restaurant wise performance so that you can link with the scenario? Why do you miss these chances of linking? Okay, so now this is the slide. Now you will have to explain speaker notes. So now please start your drafting. Please write one paragraph of 2-3 lines explaining what you actually meant by budgets not flexed and why do you think it's a weakness. You have to explain, right? And you're saying it's a weakness, why? So please start typing now and I will type on my own. Time starts now. 2 minutes. Maybe chai pila raha hai. I'm done. 1 more minute for you guys. Those of you who have completed this one can move to the drafting of the second point, which is which was prior actuals missing. I'm done. You guys take your time and then we can discuss. 2 more minutes. When you are done, can you please write done in the chat box? 30 more seconds. Okay, so I just copy pasted my answer on a Word document so that you guys can have a look at it. Can you see it? And you can compare your answer with my answer. First one, I'm saying the actuals are directly compared with the budget. This may not give an accurate picture as the budgeted activity levels are different with actual activity levels. Hence, comparing budgeted expenses with actual expenses will not be a like-to-like comparison, and variances may be deceptive. Interesting, huh? Simple. So when we say it's a weakness, the examiner expects you to explain why you think it's a weakness. What's the logic? So that's the thing why I have to explain. Just saying it's a weakness is not enough. You will not get marks unless you justify why it's a weakness. So just use your basic theoretical bookish knowledge to explain. Similarly, prior year actuals are missing from the MIS. That's a factual statement. It is only focusing on comparing actual performance with budget of current year, again a factual statement. And now the reason, comparison with prior year will help board understand whether current performance is better than last year, or I would like to change the wording. I want to adopt a negative tone. Not comparing actual performance with prior year will, by not comparing actual performance, management will not know if the current year is better than last year or worse than or deteriorated. Halas. Okay. The third point is the MIS does not explain the reasons for variance. Only variance in amounts are mentioned, which is not sufficient. Without knowing the reasons, the management will not be able to understand the variances and, more importantly, take actions in order to address the adverse variances. And the fourth one is the current MIS is based on consolidated performance of all 8 restaurants. Restaurant-wise performance is not available. In absence of this, management will not be able to identify profit-making restaurants versus loss-making restaurants, and hence will not be able to address specific restaurant-wise issues and concerns. Nice? Simple? Wow, Lunjil, very good. So got it? I mean, of course, your drafting will not be exactly like this, but just the gist of it. You just make sure that you first explain the facts and then why you think it's a weakness. The impact is important, right? The effect is important. Very good. So let me just copy paste this because I changed that paragraph, the second paragraph, right? It was this one. Oops, what happened? Oh no, let's forget it. Okay, done, guys. So we are done with this slide. Sir, can we add Nabi in between? Like Nabi will not able to. Yes. What is your role, Anas, here? Your role is external consultant. So yes, you can use Nabi, the board, the management. It's perfectly fine. Sir, we not give heading in explaining. No, no need to give heading in explaining because the headings are already mentioned in the slide, right? Those bullets are the heading. Just follow that same sequence and explain by paragraph, save some time. Can we also add the VC's comment in the last one? Yes, you can. But then remember, there is a recommendation slide as well. So if you put everything here, then what you're going to put there? Okay, Alvin? Here you are just suggesting the weaknesses. The next question, like question number 4B, you have to suggest recommendations. Okay. Oh, okay. Now, what is question number 4B? Recommend for improvements and then talk about KPIs. I think it's simple, right? The recommendation would be simple. Can you start? Again, I will go to slide number 2, which is this one. What will be the heading of slide number 2? Okay. And so this slide has two things, recommendations and KPIs. So I will just bifurcate so that the examiner can see very easily what are the recommendations and what are the KPIs. What do you recommend? So you will then need to write little small paragraphs giving recommendation and how that recommendation would contribute or help the management. If you're recommending something, you need to justify or show them the benefit, right? You just can't recommend something if there is no benefit. Why would I accept your recommendation if I don't see any benefit? So when we recommend, just show write one liner on the benefit so that the management can see the reason why you are recommending. So what's the reason for budget should be flexed? So that it gives you a like-to-like comparison. You will have more accuracy over the variances. Figures as a weakness? No, figures I doubt, because if the question says what is the weakness of the report, then it's the format. Sir, shouldn't the KPIs be within the recommendation? Up to you. Then there'll be so many things. So it will be nice to break. One is the recommendations to the MIS, and then these are the few new KPIs, which for hotel business, what KPIs are required? If you read the requirement, part B is about hotel business, KPIs of hotel business. So are you able to identify some KPIs relating to hotel industry? Very good, Aisha. You are saying revenue per room, occupancy rate. Where are you getting all these from? They are mentioned in the exhibit. Ananya, no. Customer satisfaction, Ananya, you are right, but let's stick with the exhibit. We have to link with the exhibits. So have you guys seen any KPIs in any of the exhibits? Oh, average daily. Which exhibit is this, Tala? Exhibit 7. And I think there was an industry report. Yeah. I think in exhibit 5, yeah, I saw some KPIs in exhibit 5. Yeah, you see here, in the last 12 months, revenue per available room, REVPAR, a performance metric used in the hotel industry. Also, average daily rate. I got it. And then I think also in the last thing, the last exhibit, I think this one, you see this? That the venture capitalist is also saying certain core KPIs have been established over the years. What are those core KPIs? Revenue per room, average daily rate, maybe occupancy rate, fine. However, in recent times, alongside the rise in big data and data analytics, there has been a shift towards more specific measures, focusing not just on revenue and profits per room, but return per square meter. Can you mention return per square meter as one of the KPIs, especially if very good. So I would just mention three KPIs relating to hotel industry. One would be revenue per room. One would be average daily rate. These are the two standard KPIs as per the hotel industry article. And then this particular KPI, which is a more recent one as per the venture capitalist. Any questions? Would you be able to draft it? It is not very difficult. Yes. Any questions? Guys, are you done? Any questions? Because now I'm going to close. What if we use our own KPIs, not an exhibit? Maria, then you will not score good marks. Okay, you are right. I mean, there are many more KPIs which you can say revenue per employee or market share. Everything is correct. But if the exhibits have given you some specific KPIs, then better to take it from the exhibit. Never leave the exhibit. Huh. If there was no KPI mentioned in any of the exhibits, then you can use your own common sense. But if something is mentioned, do not be adventurous. Okay. Okay. Please draft one KPI to show how the explanation. You just define the KPI. Yes, Elvin. So, for example, just no need for even the revenue per room. Let me draft one, so that you understand how to draft. Good point. So KPI, the first KPIs would be where is it? Slide 2, KPI here, bullet, revenue. What was it? Let me close some extra bits so that I can, manage my window properly. Industry-wide article. I want to reduce the view. Remove this. Okay. Revenue per available room. Revenue per available room. REVPAR. The second KPI is average daily rate ADR. I will copy average daily rate ADR. The third one is, I saw something. Was it revenue per square meter? Okay, these are the three enough. I will just select like this. And now I will go to the explanation notes. Speaker notes. Revenue per available room is a standard KPI for hotel industry, right? What does it tell you? This KPI, how it's a non-financial like KPI, right? Revenue per available room. What does it tell you? I think I've read this somewhere as well. They have explained this no transcript. Don't know. So any idea what revenue per available room will help the management analyze what? How is it a KPI? What it will help us to measure? It's kind of a, I think, occupancy and how much revenue earned from each room. Very good. Yes, you're right. Is a standard KPI. It will help. Can I say us? Is the language correct? It will help us analyze. Is it correct? No. Why? Because I'm external consult. It will help you or NABI or management or board. NABI analyze how much revenue each room is achieving. It will give an idea about the occupancy rates of the rooms and the revenue they generate. Khalas, no long stories. What about average daily rate? Is this clear? This will help board understand what is the average rate in which hotel rooms are being offered. Is it self-explanatory? Average daily rate? Yes. And the third one is square meter will the what was that? Third one is revenue per square meter, correct? Was it revenue per square meter? Revenue, where is it? Revenue return per square meter. Oh, return per square meter. It's not revenue. Now, how will this help us? This is coming from the VC. He wants to see return per square meter. What is the square meter? Talks about the area or the size. Square meter is a term which is we use for the size of the room or size of the hotel, the area which is covered, right? Of the room. So, maybe a small room will have lower returns in terms of amounts, but in terms of percentage, I would want to see what is the return per room or per square meter, how effectively I am using my all the rooms, the areas, the square footage to maximize. Yeah, just one liner explaining, because you will not have the time. As it is a last question, you will be struggling with time. Return per square meter KPI, which will help management analyze uh, what is the profit per the size of the room. I can write more, but I don't want to write more. It and maybe just one more line. And how effectively we are utilizing our physical space in order to maximize the revenue. Khalas, just fancy English. Yes, Rosaire, correct. Oh, not we. Did I write we? Thank you. This is where I will lose, marks. So let me look at let me press, wait. Press the print button and let's see how it looks. Ah, nice. Here's the slide number 1. Weakness of management accounting information, 4 bullets, and then there's a speaker note, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I go to page number 2, recommendations and KPIs, recommendations, KPIs, and then speaker notes. When we will attempt the paper in the exam, will we be reading the whole paper? Obviously, for the first 60 minutes you will read, right? So this I covered on the first day, Lukman. All right, guys, enjoyed. So finally, on day 4 of the webinar, we completed a whole case. I made sure that I was not going fast. I focused on the drafting, the presentation, even the concepts, the techniques, the professional skills. So I hope that this practice session gave a lot of you the idea of how to draft and link your answers. Laura is asking, can we divide last slide into two separate slides? No, you can't, because there is no, only two slides were available. If you see, there's just two slides available. So there's no more slides. So you have to, squeeze your answer within the number of templates given to you in the exam. Sir, how about the recommendation explanation? Yes, I'm not doing it right now because I believe it is simple and you guys can do the recommendations explanation yourself, right? In the exam, you will have to do. Wait a minute. One good question. Should we mention on the word processor to refer to presentation slides? Very interesting question. No need. Yes, no need. But I would, if I remember, I would mention. But if you don't mention, it doesn't matter because the examiner already knows, but it looks a little bit more professional if you can mention. Taruf is asking, sir, where is communication skills? What do you mean by that? Where is communication skill? Nick, yes, brief explanation is sufficient. Otherwise, I mean, I can write more and more, but you have to keep in mind the time management thing, right? You guys are more slower than me. So for you, time management is also very important. I don't want you to miss the last 20 marks question. Our writing is the communication. Yes, Varda, I don't know what Taruf is trying to ask. As I said, you don't have to do anything extra for evaluation, analysis, communication, and commercial acumen skill. Just stick with the exhibits. Just remember the techniques I mentioned. So if you, this is the communication skill. Use appropriate format. Keep in mind your role, general layout and tone of your answer. Khalas. While doing this question, did you use the format? Yes, we made we used the template. Keep in mind your role. That is why I was saying not we, but I was saying Nabi, the board, as a third person. General layout and tone, the presentation. If you just follow this by default, you will get marks. SBL is not that difficult. It's actually you guys, I don't know from where other teachers or from other students have told you so much bad things that now you think that everything is complicated. It's not. Imagine from a board's perspective. That's it. It's a very reality-based paper, like how you would draft for a board of directors. If you just keep that in mind, automatically everything will fall in place. All right, so let's wrap up. I will send the suggested answers today or tomorrow, right? So that you can benchmark the entire question, your answer with my answer. Yes, Shanshi is saying that sometimes, when we copy paste, the font changes, the type of fonts, the size of fonts changes. Alvin, how can I check WhatsApp during the class? Idiot. Are you professional or not? all those changes. So yes, we will look into it when we do more questions. Uh, there are limitations of the CBE platform. Sometimes it behaves really crazy. For example, sometimes it doesn't even copy paste. Sometimes when you copy paste, the font size, the format, it all disturbs. So then you have to do it, fix it manually or type it manually. That's the only way, right? So that is why uh, you need to be very hands-on with the CBE so that if anything goes wrong, you don't panic and you start quickly typing. Someone is asking, can we control and find? Control and find, let me check. Can we do control and find? Let me open this thing. Yes, you can. Control F and then you will type here and you will see. If it is red, that means there is no word. And if I write restaurant, then if it's there, it will say match. It's like there are two matches, restaurant. It will shade the word restaurant here and here. All right. Yes, it is true that sometimes the font changes when you copy paste. That's what I was explaining 2 minutes back. Sometimes when you sometimes, not every time, sometimes when you copy paste the format, the fonts will change. Then you have to fix it. All right. So do you guys need a break now? And then we can, no break. I need to finish one more thing. I just need 15 more minutes, or you want a break now? Okay, let's do a small couple of topics and then I will take a break. So now, once we have completed this NABI case, I want to talk about some important things. The first thing is the most, thing which worries students is the syllabus changes. And to be honest, there is a very minor syllabus change which happened in September. Two new topics were added. One was artificial intelligence and the second one was 4 line of defense. Just two small topics have been added. One topic was deleted and then there was no significant amendments, all cosmetic changes. So we will just focus on these two. So I will just explain to you artificial intelligence, robotics, and machine learning. These are the, buzzwords. Randy, everything is available on the WhatsApp group if you have and on YouTube. So artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning. I am pretty sure that you guys know all these things. So what is artificial intelligence? Can you make a guess? AIs or robotics? Very simple. It is when computers thinks, works, and takes decisions like a human being. Exactly. Intelligent robot. They have their own mind, own algorithm. They think, they behave like a human. Okay. Is that good or bad? Both. Very good, Shad. You can't say bad or good. I mean, yeah, I think it's bad and scary in one sense. I, of course, understand that. But there will be some pros and some cons. Definitely, there will be some advantages of robotics and there will be some disadvantages or risks associated with AIs, right? It depends. Very good. So what are the common, where are we seeing a lot of usage of robotics? It is there in manufacturing industry. You see all those automated factories where there is no human intervention, all the machines, the arms, the robots, the way they manufacture car and precision products. Retail and customer experience, when all these order processing. Amazon has a fully AI store. Okay, when you chat to a bot. A bot, when you chat, it's a bot. And then big data analytics, financial investment. So there are AIs which will analyze the stock markets, the financial conditions, and will just take decisions like a trader, like an investor. Transportation, can anybody tell me transportation, where is robotic in transportation or automobile? Any example of route planning? Tesla is AI. Yes, Venkat is correct. How is Tesla AI? Tesla is electric car. That's ecological factor. It's not a. Kareem is AI. Yes, Ananya, driverless cars. That is AI. So driver, have you heard of driverless cars? Yeah. And medicine and surgeries. So, even surgeries in machines can do surgeries now. Anyway, so AI is computers, softwares working like humans. Khalas? Is it good or bad? So, of course, there are advantages and there are risks. And I can see right away that the number of risks and issues are more. So negative on a overall, my personal view is maybe it's not good. It might be scary, but the businesses don't think like that. So what are the advantage of robotics? What are the advantages of AI, robotics? Definitely it is faster. Oops. You agree? They're faster. They are more accurate or less errors. 24/7. Wow. So humans, they can't work 24/7, right? And employee related issues can be avoided, like strikes and trade unions and holidays and all those things. Even I think one more I think should be there. What do you think? Right. But then where there are advantages, there will be some risks and disadvantages as well, right? So number one, high dependency on technology. So now the organization is more dependent on technology. What if the internet goes out or electricity goes out or there's a technical bug in the hardware or the software? Everything will come to a stop. So, the more technology you are using, your dependency, your critical dependency is increasing, right? I know, Ananya. Then security and hacking risks. Obviously, cyber is a big issue now. More technology, more risks, cyber, and then misuse of personal data. Creates unemployment in the society. Yes. Profits will be concentrated in hands of corporations. Very interesting points. Profits will be, accumulated in hands of corporations. When there are no people, so when people are working for you, you pay them salary, and that's distribution of wealth. But when you fire everybody and machines are working, you don't pay money to other people. Everything is in the corporation's pocket. It is lack of ethical and moral values. Lack of ethic, obviously, it's a machine. It will not have any ethical or moral values. And one-time costly investment. It's not free. It does require some investment in the start, and I'm sure it's not cheap. Can it be legally answerable? Yeah, that's a gray area here. That's the next slide. Ethical matters which business could consider before implementing. So whenever I think the maybe how can a question on this topic may be tested in an exam? I think that the question might say identify or discuss the advantages and the disadvantages of, the company is thinking of, you know implementing AIs. What could be discussed the or evaluate the proposal? Or the question may say what could be the ethical matters which the company can consider. So before implementing AI, there are some ethical matters. For example, impact on employment and employees. So if my company is thinking of implementing AI across the board, that means I will need to fire off 2,000 people. I will lay off, right? So before deciding on the AI, I need to be very clear what will be the impact on employment and my employees. How can I take care of that? Not just disturbance, okay, but ethical concerns. They will be on the road the next day. What if they don't get a job? These are more about ethical concerns, okay? And then compliance with legal and social norms. Like how can I make sure that the machine, it complies with all the legal requirements and morals and values and all those things? It's a subjective thing. It's difficult. Ethical use of personal data. So again, a lot of organizations are misusing the personal data. How can I make sure that I don't misuse the data? I protect it, I save it securely, I all those things. Transparency. I mean, how do I know what the machine has done? What is the logic behind it? I mean, they are very programmed in a very complicated algorithms. So sometimes it is difficult to understand the logic why the machine has done this. It could be a bug. And finally, accountability. So what if they do something wrong? What if a driverless car, imagine, if a driverless car goes and hits someone and the person dies, who will you hold accountable? There is no person in the car. Organization. I don't know. The organization might say, Baba, I don't know this car. It's not my car. I mean, you understand all these gray areas. Ethical means subjective areas where there would be chances of disputes or unnecessary discussions or whatever. Yeah. So AI it's got definitely advantages like faster, more efficient, 24/7, no nonsense, no strikes, no emotions. But then I think there are issues and risks like unemployment, accountability, and all those things. Done. This topic is over. Any questions on AI? Don't complicate this. Just your answers you were writing in your chat box, they were 100% accurate answers. So just whatever your understanding is right now, it's perfect. You will be able to write 4 5 points in case the question comes in your paper, right? Now the second new topic is called 4 lines of defense. Elvin is saying, sir, if asked for recommendation in AI, should be given a yes or a no. Okay. Generally, they will never ask you for a recommendation in SBL because it is not simple to give recommendation because there are pros and cons. So there's 99.9% chance that they will never ask you for a recommendation. However, if they do ask you, then you judge by the tone of the exhibit. If the exhibit has a positive tone towards AI, go for it. If it talks more about risks and issues, don't recommend. Has past paper tested AI? No, Laura, not yet. I don't think AI has been tested in last couple of papers. So that is why I'm, focusing on it. Okay. The next topic which has been added is 4 line of defense, and it is a topic under risk management. Okay. And again, this one has not yet been tested so far. So I want to talk about it. 4 line of defense. Let me explain to it in very simple terms. So what are the 4 line of defense? That first line of defense is employees. Okay. Second line of defense are managers. The third line of defense is internal audit. And the fourth line of defense is external audit. Okay. That's the theoretical part. Employees followed by managers, internal audit, external audit. Okay. Now, let me explain to you in very layman term. So I sit on the board of directors of my company. I'm the CFO and the finance director. So I sit on the board. Now, can you tell me who is responsible for the entire organization, or who is responsible for the risk management of the entire organization? Is the board? No, 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 no. You can't say CEO or NED. The entire board is responsible for risk, making sure that risk management is there. Correct? Entire board. And then we have our, so I am part of the board, and all of us, the CEO, anybody who is a director has a fiduciary duty to make sure that organization overall assets are safeguarded, risks are minimized, controls are there, right? Okay. Now imagine you are one of the directors. How will you make sure that proper risk management and controls are working in your organization? Take example of NABI. They have 8 restaurants. They are all physically scattered. And now they will have a hotel in North Park. So how the board will make sure that at the branch level, the controls are being followed? How will you? Because you are ultimately responsible, right? Will you be sitting in each branch every day? No, it's not possible. Whistleblowing, internal audit, risk managers, risk committee, that's fine, perfect. So a risk management, there will be proper internal controls, there will be policies and procedures, everything will be there, right? I will, as a board, I will make sure that the controls, the policies are there. But how will I make sure that everybody is complying or following with those policies? Having policies and controls is one thing, and make sure that it is properly followed is also important, right? How will I monitor? Tell me. You guys are sitting on the board. You have so many branches and locations. How will you monitor? Is it practically possible for you to monitor? CCTV, Ananya, oh God, crazy, crazy. So you will sit in front, as a director, you will sit in front of the CCTV 24 hours to make sure that everybody is following the rules. Wow. So now then there are 4 lines of defense. Number one, as board of directors, we expect all the employees to be self-responsible, and we expect all the employees that it is part of their job and core duty to make compliance or follow whatever controls and policies are there in the organization. That's the rule number one. All employees have to follow, right? So it is the ethical moral duty of the employees. So that's the first line of defense. So there should be proper policies and procedures. There should be training. So any new employee who has joined our organization, proper training should be given. These are the policies and procedures, training, regular performance evaluation. There has to be monitoring procedures, all those things. Yeah, so the trust level, and obviously there will be performance. So can I trust the employees? I cannot blindly trust that everybody will follow, right? That's where the second line of defense comes. So the first line of defense is the employee themselves, right? That they have to be responsible. I will train them, I will give them all the policies, and I expect them to follow all the controls. But then how will I make sure that they are doing it? Can you trust all of them? No. Second line of defense are the supervisors or their managers. So all the employees will have a supervisor or a manager. That's how the hierarchy works, right? So then it is the job of the managers to make sure that whoever is working under them, whoever is in their team, follows the rules. That's my, as a board, second line of defense. You see how, as a board, I am setting out the net. First, I'm saying all the employees are responsible to follow the rules. And then I'm saying managers, you have to make sure that your employees, so that if anybody here does not follow, the manager can immediately identify and take actions. Now, how do I know that the managers are doing their job properly? So here comes the third line of defense. Internal audit. So this is a separate department. It's supposed to be independent. It is an assurance function which comes and audits each department. Then they make sure that the employees are following the rules and the managers are monitoring that everybody is following the rules. And if there's any exception, internal audit will come back and report to me. Third line of defense. And how do I make sure that internal, but then you see, internal audit may not be 100% independent. That's the risk with internal audit. Familiarity risks, or they might be friends with the employees, because we are at the end of the day, we are all employees of the same organization. So how do I make sure that internal audit is doing its job properly? It is independent, it is objective. Then here comes the external audit. They normally look at the work of internal auditors, they look at the risk management procedures, and external auditors is my fourth comfort. So as a director, I have introduced various levels of checks and balances so that risk management is and controls are done on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And because I'm not physically practical to go and check everybody, so I've delegated. First, all employees have to make sure that everybody does their job properly. Secondly, their supervisors will make sure that all the employees are doing the job properly. Then internal audit will make sure that everybody is doing the job properly. And then external audit will make sure that everybody is doing the job properly. There are four levels or nets or floors, so that if something goes wrong, the other second level will catch it. If second level misses it, the third level will catch it. This is how you and me as directors have some comfort that things and controls are working. This is called four lines of defense, or how we protect the organization. Can we consider risk committee as fifth defense? Yes, philosophically, yes, because the internal audit or risk committees, but the models doesn't talk about them, because the risk committee is part of the board. Risk committee is part of the board. So board is ultimately responsible. So that is why we talk for levels below the board. So audit committee and risk committee are the board, right? It's part of the board. So we don't consider them as fifth levels. There would be three if the organization does not require external audit. That's yes, you're right. Or if there is no internal audit required, there'll be three levels. But the idea, you understand the idea, the board is ultimately responsible, but it is not practical for the board to go and visit everybody and monitor everybody 24/7. So there is a hierarchy: the employees, the managers, the internal audit, the external audit. Yes, Mohit, you're right. How can this topic be tested, Alvin? I don't know. What I would expect is a straightforward question if it is tested. Oh, Chi saying I can relate to my workplace. That's very good. I can relate to my workplace. Whoever is working in any organization, you would see this at some level. So those of you who are working, you are supposed to follow certain policies, procedures, policies, controls, right? And if you don't do, your manager will beat your ass, or your evaluation, performance evaluation will be affected. You will be warned, you will be terminated. And if the man, and then there'll be internal audits, there'll be external audits as assurance functions, double check, triple check that everything is going well. Yes. No, Anas, don't complicate this. How the risk will be managed, there are certain steps, and there you can just mention one word like four line of defense. That's it. Do not go into it in detail. A four line of defense may directly come as a four line of defense. Remember, all the answers are in the exhibits. So if the exhibit talks about four line of defense, then you would know it's a, you forget that all the answers are within the exhibits, right? So a general or theoretical question will not be there. So if whatever is there in the exhibit, if it talks about four line of defense, you must be able to understand what it means. That's about it. And now last thing before the break, technical articles. So in the last 1 year, only 3 articles have been published relating to SBL. One was cyber security, which I have already covered in March 2021 webinar, and this has been also tested in your past paper. So it's out, it's been tested. I think it was in last to last paper, cyber security question. The second thing was principles of e-marketing. I think e-marketing was also tested in previous to previous paper. Can anybody Tell me. Yes, Alvin, do you remember? E-marketing question has been tested in March 21. Yes, I thought so. So this is also tested. So once it's tested, I don't expect it to be retested at least for 1 year. So these two, I would safely say, don't worry about this. The last article was on AI. It was called A World of Intelligent. And I just explained what is AI, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and what are the ethical issues relating to AI. Any questions? Right. So this is the list of important topics, the top 25. And now what I thought was this. So for today and tomorrow, I thought of a grand revision, like a fast revision of top 25 topics. Okay. Four line of defense, Bezad has not been tested. So we covered that, but there is no articles on four line of defense. So first, I will start with all the models because a lot of students, they have some misconceptions about the model. So there are 10 models. Okay. 10 models. So you 5 year, 5 year. So I will quickly cover the 10 models and then like the 10 model, you see the 10 models here. And then after the 10 models, I will move to topics and you will try to cover 15 topics. But in case if we are not able to cover 15, then at least half of them will be covered, inshallah. So that's the plan for today and tomorrow. Let's take a small break and then we will start with the top 10 models of SBL. So time right now in Dubai is 9:30, which is 10:30. So 10:45 break. Okay, 10:45. Okay, guys, enjoy. All right, guys, are you able to hear me and see the screen? Are you guys back? Very good, very good. Just give me 1 minute. I need to fix my pen. It's not working. What's gone wrong with the pen? Okay, it's back. Okay, let's start. So before the break, I just break this news that let's cover all the important models and some topics in the next uh, today and tomorrow so that everybody is clear on the concept thing. So the first model or topic is called external environment. Okay. So, all businesses, they have wait a second, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to fix some things. Yeah. All businesses have two types of environment. One is called internal environment and one is called external environment. Obviously, internal environment means the internal factors like employees and finance and technology, software, brand, and external factors are those factors which are outside the organization, which directly, indirectly affects the organization, right? So when we talk about external factors, there are two types of external factors. One is called country environment and the other one is called industry environment. Is this clear? Country environment and industry environment. Country environment has several names. It is called macro environment. It is also called general environment, right? And which model do we use? We use pestle model to analyze the country environment or the macro environment or the general environment. Similarly, industry environment also has certain more names. It is also called micro environment, industry or marketplace environment, and competitive environment. Couple of times the examiner has used the word analyze competitive environment. Many students, they made a mistake. They just analyze competitors or competition. Whereas whenever you see the word analyze competitive environment, you have to apply full Porter 5 forces model. You got it? Now, what is pestle model? First of all, it is used to analyze the country environment or the macro environment. There are 6 elements to it: political, economy, social, technological, ecological, legal. Political environment, it focuses on government. The main feature is government. So you know that for any country, the government is very important. Government policies, government subsidies, government grants, government stability. Political factor really affects the entire business environment, business confidence, future stability and growth. So political is a very important thing, and these are the key words which will help you identify the political factors from the scenario. Similarly, economy, it talks about the economic situation of the country, growth, recession, decline. These are the keywords. How does economy affect or impact? Obviously, the growth of business. The economy basically, it affects the disposable income of the people. So the economy is good, people will have more money to spend. And more money to spend means increased demand, increased business activities. But if the economy is bad, like pandemic, disposable income will go down and hence the demand for the products will get affected and hence the revenue of the organization. Got it? Social talks about the people of the country. Uh, is it a prosperous, developed nation, standard of living, educated population, and more importantly, unemployments? If social, how social affects the organization? Yes, Rohullah, absolutely correct. Social, how, if there's unemployment, it will lead to less disposable income and hence lower business activity. Got it? Technology means the technological environment of the country, not the company. We are not talking about software and hardware of the company here. Technology means the technological infrastructure of the country as a whole. And then technology can be IT and non-IT as well. So plant and machineries, robotics, AIs, skilled or technical workers, IT, internet, online, roads, infrastructure, electricity, all this is part of the technological environment of the country. Technology environment is very important. If the country wants to progress, Technology is one of the most important factors. Businesses, they require technology to move ahead, right? Ecological is all about the carbon emission footprint, recycling, pollution. And legal talks about the various laws, regulations, legislations, patent, trademark, copyrights. These are all part of the legal framework. What is more important is that you have to mention favorable or unfavorable for each factor. Like political environment, is it favorable or unfavorable for the business? You have to mention the impact. That's the main thing. That you will say favorable and unfavorable, and why you are saying, how is it favorable? You have to explain that. So that's the effect or the impact, right? Do not forget, if you don't mention favorable or unfavorable and the impact, you will not get any marks. And sometimes there are overlapping points. It is possible that one point can fit into two places. Like government has introduced new laws relating to environmental pollutions. It can go into legal, it can go into ecological, it may also go into political. So it's perfectly fine as long as your drafting and your point explains that from the respective context. Okay. Any questions so far on external environment and pestle? Yes, Behzad, I will explain that. Any example on how social can be tested? The case will mention that it's a developed, prosperous nation or it's an educated population, and more frequently it talks about employment and unemployment. So you can say that if the unemployment is high, you will say that unemployment is high, it's unfavorable because it adversely affects the disposable income and revenues. Okay, Ikra. The second model is called Porter 5, and this model is used to analyze industry environment. Why is it called Porter 5 forces? Because every industry has 5 forces: customers, suppliers, threat of new entrants, competition, and substitute. Okay, so power of customer. Power of customer, that's the first power of Porter 5 forces, that as a business, I have to analyze whether the bargaining power of my customer is high or low. Okay, how can you judge? How can you decide whether it's high or low? There are certain factors which will help you decide. For example, the size of the customer. From the size of the customer versus size of yourself, if the customer is larger than you, obviously the customer will have a upper hand. If customer size is smaller than you, then you will have an upper hand and he will have a low power. Also, any brand or uniqueness in our product, this will also help you. So if my product is unique, branded, there is something wow or special about it, then customer power is low. Okay. Similarly, customer willing to pay premium. Obviously, no customer likes to pay extra money. So if they are willing to pay extra price, a premium to buy your product, it means that customer power is low. Okay. So how would you look for this? So just focus on these words. Wherever you see these words in the scenario, just pick it up, highlight it, and from that you will be able to judge any of these, and from that you will be say whether it's high or low. Clear? Do you understand? Do you understand? Bargaining power of customer. Okay. Bargaining power of supplier. Now supplier basically means from whom I, as a business, from whom I buy my raw materials. That's important. Huh? Supplier means from whom I buy my raw materials. So how do I decide whether the bargaining power of my supplier is high or low? Again, factors to decide high or low. Size of the supplier. So if my supplier is bigger than me, his power will be higher because he's bigger. He can, I will not be able to pressurize him. Or are we willing to pay any premium? Are we willing to pay extra money to buy from him? That means that supplier power is high, correct? What are the key words? These are the key words: suppliers, vendors, manufacturers. These are the key words through which you will be able to. So, main thing is you have to mention high or low. For power of customer, you have to mention high or low. For power of supplier, you have to mention high or low. So in pestle, if I go back, in pestle, you have to mention favorable or unfavorable. But in Porter 5, you have to mention high or low. Okay. The third factor is threat of new entrants. Why is it a threat? Because new entrants, if they enter the market, they will increase the competition. They will try to take away my customers, and hence, the respective market share might reduce. Obviously, when there are more players in the market, the customers get spread and this individual market share gets affected. That is why it is a threat. So how do we deal with new entrants? We try and look for barriers to entry. We try to create barriers so that it becomes difficult for new companies to enter the industry, right? And what are the examples of barriers? Patents, very, very commonly used in your exams. Patents. So what is a patent? Do you know what is a patent? So patents or copyrights or trademarks are special government laws through which, especially you see pharmaceutical companies, when they discover a new vaccine or a new medicine, they get it patented, which means that no other company can produce or copy the same product. So patent, it gives you a little bit of protection against competition for some number of years, right? So patents, government approval. So there are like a lot of agencies, like a lot of industries which are regulated industries. You cannot start unless you have government approval or government license. For example, banks, healthcare, insurance, airlines. In these industries, you first need to see government approval or license. Even franchise is a model where these are all examples of barriers to entry, that no one else can start selling the same product as yours if there is patents or franchise available or government approval or licenses are required. So if the barrier is high, threat will be low. You understand? It's opposite relationship. If the barrier is high, threat will be low. If the barrier is low, that means there is no barrier, then of course the threat of new entrants will be high. They work opposite. Is it clear? Fourth one is threat of competition, whether we have to assess whether the competition in our industry is high or low. So for example, if we have a monopoly, then there is no competition, right? We have a monopoly. So these are certain words, like in the scenario, it will be clearly given to you what is the level of competition. Like what are the key words like competition, rivalry, number of competitors, market share. Market share is a word which is linked with competition, patents and franchise. So can you tell me patents, if there are patents or franchise? If you go back, if there are patents and franchise, will it increase competition or will it decrease the competition? Patents and franchise will help me, reduce the competition or increases, it decreases. Very good. So patents, franchise, if you see these words in your scenario, 99.9% the threat of competition will be low. Why? Because it is the whole objective or purpose of patents and franchise is to give you some exclusivity, some protection against competition. Very good. And finally, the fifth one is threat of substitute. So substitute products are products from another industry, but satisfying the same needs. So again, what are the keywords? Substitutes or alternate or alternatives. So if there are close alternates available, then the threat is high. So are you guys clear on the Porter 5 model? Then what are the 5 forces? Bargaining power customer, bargaining power supplier, threat of new entrants, competition, and substitute. For all these 5 forces, you have to mention whether it is high or low, giving your logics. Now, sometimes the examiners asks, analyze the strategic position of ABC company. Strategic position. For example, in case of NEBI, we just did NEBI. If the question said, analyze the strategic position of, oh, okay. If the question said, analyze the macro environment of NEBI, what would you have done? In NEBI, the question says, analyze the external environment or analyze the macro environment of NEBI. Then you just need pestle. If the question says, analyze the competitive environment of NEBI, then what you would have done? Analyze the competitive environment of NEBI. Then Porter 5. If the question says, analyze the external environment of NEBI, very smart. If it is silent, it is not saying macro or micro, country or industry, it is just saying analyze external environment, then you will do both, because the external environment, it consists of both pestle and Porter 5. And the fourth possibility is the question will say, analyze the strategic position of NEBI. This is a very specific word. It doesn't say external position, strategic position. So when you see this word, you will analyze macro like pestle. Then you will also have to analyze micro. So these two will cover your external factors. And additionally, you will also need to include internal factors. When the question says strategic position, external and internal. And when I say internal, how do you analyze internal factors? Just remember three things: human resource, financial resource, IT, and brand. Human resource talks about experience, expertise, competencies, staffing. These are the keyword. Financial resources, profits, financial positions, gearings, and goodwill, online website. Okay. You can use SWOT. How can you use SWOT? No. I mean, yes, you can, but I would prefer that you follow this, because if the examiner wants SWOT, he will directly tells you to use SWOT. Okay. If the question says analyze strategic position, then in that case, uh, you will need to follow this step. It is a SWOT, that indirectly, yes. Um, this is strengths internal, which means strengths and weaknesses. This is external, which means opportunities and threats. Okay. Now the important thing. Now a very important thing. These two. This you will have to do. What is it? You will need to practice couple of questions on this topic, because I will not be able to do questions on this topic, right, because of lack of time. But I have given you where you can find the practice questions. For example, number one, you go to September webinar, and day one, I've even mentioned the day for a question practice. And then question number two, you can go to March webinar, and in that March webinar, just go to day number 2 for a question practice. So I've given reference of two very good questions from your SBL, so that you can apply the knowledge of pestle, porter 5, strategic position, external, this and that, practice. Just knowing the theoretical bit is useless unless you practice. So please, I would expect that you will look at these actual question solving which I have done. I have actually solved a proper question in these webinars. Okay. All right. Good, good. If you guys can give me just 1 minute, I need to place a quick order. Just give me 1 minute, please. All right. Sorry, guys. Done. It's weekend here, so they will take 1 hour to deliver. Pizza order? You want pizza? Okay, I will order. Now, another huge topic is SFA framework, one of the most important topic of SBL exams. And this SFA topic is tested almost every second attempt, alternate attempts, right? So SFA model or SFA framework, it stands for suitability, feasibility, acceptability framework. And what is the purpose of this model? Why do we use, or when do we use this model? We use this model to evaluate a proposed strategy. I don't know, guys, was SFA tested in previous attempt? I don't think so. Alvin, are you sure? Last attempt in September, many people are saying yes, but really, people are saying SWOT was tested, not SFA, opportunities and threat. I mean, I'm getting mixed responses. Maybe some people are saying not tested in UK. It was in September 21 exams in UK. Okay. Different set of papers. I don't know. Okay. Not able to arrive at a conclusion. Huh? All right. So SFA framework theoretically, it is used to evaluate any proposed strategy. For example, if the business of thinking of doing something, it can use SFA from framework to identify the pros and cons and risks so that it can take a decision. Okay. But in your exams, you should not use SFA for any kind of proposed questions. SFA is a bit complicated. It is time consuming. So just use SFA when we plan to acquire another company. So when the question is specifically use the word acquire or acquisition, when you see this word in the question, then apply SFA. If you don't see this word acquisition, then stay away from SFA. Okay, this is just for your exam thing to save time. For example, do you remember this question, Nabi? In fact, I have it, right? Nabi is open. Question number 1. Do you remember this question? Question number 1 was, prepare a report which assesses and appraises the two options from a strategic perspective. So Nabi had two options for future. So they wanted to analyze the future proposed option. Either they should open a 9th restaurant or they can go to a hotel, right? So few students, they had asked me, I think it was Kobu and some more students, that why did we not use SFA? Theoretically, yes, we could have used SFA because it is a future strategy or a proposed option or future strategic option. We could have used SFA for NABI question. But as I said, SFA will be time consuming and may get complicated. So that is why I avoided SFA, because only use SFA when you see the word acquisition in your question. Is that clear? Now, a small quiz. Question number 1. What about this question? If the question says, evaluate the proposal of acquiring ABC company. Which model? SFA or general? Quick. For example, this question, will you use SFA or you will just use a logical approach? SFA. Why? Because the word acquisition is there. But what about this question? Evaluate the option of opening a new restaurant in another city. SFA or general? Yes, you can use SFA, right? I'm not saying that you can't, but avoid it under exam stress level. We can just use general approach. And what do I mean by general? What headings would you cover? When you say we will use a general approach, what points will you cover? Very good. We will talk about external factors, we will talk about internal factors, and we will talk about financial. Remember the NEBI question, what we did there? External, internal, project financials. That is a very safe, simple, and acceptable approach if you don't want to use SFA. What about this one? Evaluate the proposal of adding a new product to our existing product. A common sense general approach. Why? Because I don't see the word acquisition. So just look at external factors, internal factors, and costing and financials. Right? Is this clear? So do not use SFA for any type of question in your exams because you will mess up with your time management. SFA is a lengthy model. It should be at least 15, 18 marks question. Then you can think of SFA, and also if it is an acquisition thing, otherwise not. Are we clear on when to use? Okay. Now, if we get a question on acquisition, so suitability. So the first heading is suitability. Suitability focuses on external factors. And if we are acquiring a company, for example, so we will talk about one paragraph about our home country or home city, one paragraph on target country or target city if it is different, and one paragraph about the target company who we are planning to acquire. Yes, IODG, I would imagine that when you use SFA, then you have to use all components of SFA, not a portion. No, doesn't a portion will not work in SFA. Okay, is this clear? Suitability, it focuses on external factors like home country external factors, one paragraph on target country external factors, and one paragraph on the target company. Now, feasibility, it focuses on internal factors. And we all know internal factors: human resource, financial resource, IT, technology, and brand. All right. When you will practice Lee and all the others, you have to practice SFA, and I will tell you which question. You will understand all these things, right? Sarah, no. What are you saying? Did I mention the word 6 capitals anywhere in my slide? Then why the hell you want to be over smart and use these kind of things? Acceptability. Acceptability focuses on financials of the target company. You see, Will the shareholders accept the proposed strategy? Of course, they will look at the financials. If they feel that the NPV is positive, they will accept. And then if the target country is based on another country, then any possible cultural differences, and you will have to review the financial projections which will be given to you. All right. So very, very important. Is conclusion required? Avoid conclusion if question does not specifically ask for conclusion. Your job is to just evaluate the pros and cons of the proposed acquisition deal and let the conclusion be done by the board. Okay. If you feel SFA is getting complicated, it is not compulsory to use SFA. As I said, you can use a general approach. When I say general approach, external factors, internal factors, financials. We already did NEBI, so now you are very well aware of these things, right? Very important. Please watch June 2021 webinar day one. Watch June 2021 day one for a comprehensive practice on SFA. Okay. The next topic is SWOT and TOES. We all know SWOTs and weaknesses are internal and opportunities and threats are external. So let me, test your knowledge. Highly motivated staff. Where will it go? No, SWOT. SWOT. Tell me about SWOT. Is it strength, weakness, opportunity, or threat? Yes. Inexperienced staff. Weakness. Just write W or S, right? Doesn't matter. Outdated accounting software. Why people are saying threat? Alvin, are you crazy? It's a weakness. Outdated accounting software is an internal matter. How is it a threat? Useless website. Yeah. Okay. Growing demand for the product. Strength? Who said strength? Growing demand for the product. How can that be strength? Demand is external. Amazing. Cutthroat competition. Political instability. Supplier monopoly. Impressive, very impressive. But do you think, let's move on. Do you think that organizations, they have to do a SWOT analysis? Do they need to know what are their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats? Yes, definitely. All of you are saying that all organizations, that they should always regularly do a SWOT so that they are aware of their strengths, their weakness, opportunities, and strength. But why do we need to be aware? That's the next question. Why should we know? To improve current strategy. Very good. To improve, in order to strategize, to know the environment. Why do we need to know the environment? Create strategy, grab opportunity, protect. Oh, very good. Very exactly. We just don't do SWOT for the heck of doing it or just for our information. No, there's a purpose behind doing SWOT. Why we do SWOT? So that we can design strategies based on our SWOT in order to grab opportunities or protect ourselves from threats, to increase our revenues. You have to, when you make strategy, you must know your SWOT. You must know your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats. Then only you can make the relevant strategies, right? So that approach is called TOES metrics. So TOES is nothing but when we use our SWOT to come up with strategies. Okay. So TOES on the X, it is strength, weakness. On the Y is opportunities and threat. So this is SO, S from here and O from here. This is WO, W from here and O from here, and likewise. What does SO stands for? Use your strengths to avail opportunities. So obviously, if I have a strength and there are opportunities in the market, it's just common sense that I should utilize my strength to avail opportunities. WO stands for remove your weakness to avail opportunities. ST means use your strengths to avoid or protect against threats, and WT is remove your weakness. So this is a theoretical side. There are 4 boxes, so forget about this. The theory is not important from exam point of view. All you need to understand is why do we do SWOT? So that we are able to come up with relevant strategies, and we can use those metrics to come up with strategies. Okay. How would you know? How can you practice this? Please watch June 2021 webinar, day number 2 for question practice. I don't think TOES has been tested in SBL so far. Can anybody confirm that TOES has been tested in SBL? I remember SWOT has been tested directly, indirectly, but I don't think SWOT has been tested. But what is TOES? TOES is basically you have to come up with strategies. You have to suggest strategies to the board, right? So when you know your SWOT, based on that, you will need to think out of the box and suggest few strategies to the board. Again, this is no chapter, no syllabus, no bookish knowledge. It will all come from your common sense that you have to suggest strategies. So you can watch this webinar in which I have used a P3 question, if I can remember correctly, to show how a TOES is done. And it was nothing but just, this question, it wanted us to recommend future strategic options and strategies using SWOT and TOES. So we just came up with SWOT. Corporate parenting. Now, this is a little bit tricky, hormone process. So should we stop here? Are you guys tired now? So why are you guys tired? Very good, Varda. Oh, you had a long day. Very good, very good. Half the people are not tired. Yeah, it's weekend in Dubai. Work and study. Yes, I understand. So, all right. So I think we made good progress. And again, corporate parenting is something which might take 15 minutes at least. I don't want to rush through it. So tomorrow we will start with corporate parenting. I will move on to Harmon and then complete the 3 or 4 remaining models. And then we will move to some topics. And in the last, we will recap all the exam techniques, study plan, what to do, what not to do. All right, guys. So I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Pakistan time. Till then, you guys take care and good night.